Am on the road here on this Sunday worldwide transmission. It is already the 9th day of March, 2014, and I'm going to be here with you sporadically throughout the transmission with David Knight there in the catbird seat, there in the crow's nest, running the show from deep in the heart of Texas, Austin, Texas, and Anthony Gucciardi, who's been in downtown Austin interviewing the trendies and folks that want to come here and basically strike it rich in the media tech landscape, a new gold rush, folks. He's going to be talking about some of the cultural analysis he's been doing with those folks and the fact that the entire fake liberal facade of cultural control has and is continuing to accelerate its downward spiral and collapse. So Anthony Gucciardi and David Knight coming up today. I will be here with you until the bottom of the hour, and we have some other special reports coming up in the second hour of the global transmission as well. And I'll be back in studio tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central for the weekday broadcast. Now, when we come back, we've got it up on Infowars.com right now. This is a big story because South by Southwest Conference is put on by a man named Lewis Black for the last 30 years, who is a total gun banner, a total globalist, a total authoritarian fake leftist who's waged petty war against the First Amendment here in town for a long time. He tried to have the police arrest our reporters last year, handing out free copies of Infowars magazine. He has now teamed up with Mayor Bloomberg and the Mayor Organization to put on anti-gun symposiums throughout South by Southwest, one of the biggest media and film and music interactives in the world. In its 30 years, it's grown to be one of the largest in the world, mainly exploiting people in a dying media market who want jobs in the establishment. And so people come here spending a third of their year's salary in some cases, attempting, again, to find the Holy Grail when the Holy Grail isn't even anywhere near this area. There are some good films to see. You can go hear some interesting people speak, but you could always just watch it online later anyways. But it's just a giant, trendy event, and we're going to discuss how pathetic it is coming up here today. And by the way, it's not that I'm not invited to the party. I've spoken at big South by Southwest events, been on a bunch of different TV channels here, had films premiere that I'm in at South by Southwest. When they request me to come speak at South by Southwest, I just say, go jump in a river. So let's make it clear, I'm not bitching about South by Southwest because I'm not invited to it. I will not be part of an anti-liberty, anti-gun, anti-sovereignty scam. I will not invest in prison corporations, even though 15 years ago I said invest in them. They'll triple in profit if you're immoral. I will not invest in the private run-for-profit Federal Reserve or its member banks. I would not invest in Bitcoin. And I'm saying, look, you want to ride a bubble up and ride it down? Go ahead. Now it's got government agents connected to it, inventing it. I mean, the whole thing stinks. I follow my gut. My gut. And I'm not saying I'm the most perfect person on earth, but I do have a moral compass. And I just will not be part of South by Southwest other than waging war against its anti-human exploitation of the trendies. Now, when we come back, the big story is up on Infowars.com. South by Southwest anti-gun event fails. Lack of attendance at South by Southwest event proves the popularity of basic human freedoms. They've been having Mayor Bloomberg sponsored events where literally 8 or 9 people show up. There's more people on the panels spewing their victim disarmament than there are twits in the audience and lapdog media spilling their guts for the establishment. It's all coming up today.
Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.
Crashing through the lies and disinformation, it's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live broadcasting across the world right now. And we've got the crew in Austin, Texas at the Central Texas Command Center. David Knight and Anthony Gucciardi coming up in a roundtable discussion on the fact that the so-called liberal facade, not just here in the U.S., but worldwide, is collapsing on every single front. The fact that they are not the cultural arbiters of truth. They do not have the moral high ground. They are authoritarians who are attempting to domesticate the population worldwide, bankrupt the middle class, and complete our journey into slavery. We're also exposing the establishment right wing as being simply the other wing of this bird of prey that is the kleptocratic neoliberal system. Again, welcome to this March 9th, 2014 Sunday worldwide broadcast. We're every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, back weekdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, with the weekday transmission. I am your host, Alex Jones, on the road. And as I said, David Knight and Anthony Gucciardi are there in studio in Austin, Texas. Speaking of Austin, Texas, we have these articles up on prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com if you'd like to see the video clips and the photos of this shameful activity on so many fronts. The headline is, South by Southwest anti-gun event fails. Lack of attendance at South by Southwest event proves the popularity of basic human freedoms. South by Southwest, run by a man named Lewis Black, that is his pen name, has always been anti-free speech, always been anti-gun, always been anti-family, basically authoritarian, masquerading as bearded trendies. And now this year they have sworn themselves to victim disarmament. And Mayor Bloomberg, with his hundreds of millions that he's already spent, has sent in the mayors against illegal guns and Moms Demand Action. And they've put on multiple South by Southwest events that the London Guardian and others have given lapdog, just sycophantic praise to, calling for banning civilian ownership of firearms, banning the transfer of firearms, banning all semi-automatic firearms. And mayors have quit the group and gone public and actually released the documents the last few months. That's linked in Infowars.com article, South by Southwest anti-gun event fails. You can read it there. And also video from the New York State House where they showed the documents. The plan is to register all guns and then confiscate. And the mayor pro tem in Austin, there's video of that as well, saying, once we register, we will confiscate. So they're also very disingenuous. Now, last week we broke the story, and it got picked up nationally, that the Bloomberg money's having an effect. Facebook, headed up by Zuckerberg, who called his users dumb effers because they trust him, they are censoring pro-gun talk, pro-gun memes, pro-gun promotion, pro-Second Amendment promotion, and it's spreading across the web. And they had a meeting bragging how they are censoring free speech. We had a free speech issue last year in March of my magazine. We handed out 10,000 free copies down on 2nd Street. And they had the police come and threaten to arrest us, saying no free speech in Austin, until I threatened to sue the police. And they said, sorry, we were ordered to by our Lord and Savior's, as Jamie Foxx calls him, Barack Obama's minion, South by Southwest, run by the Austin Chronicle, and Lewis Black. So it's an ongoing attack on free speech. But when we had 1,500 plus people a few months ago with the land commissioner, Jerry Patterson, down at the Alamo doing a rally for open carry in defiance of the city law that's unconstitutional, the police did stand down, by the way. When we were doing all of that, he basically, the police chief did the right thing and backed off. They had 3 people from Moms Demand Action there. They had 3 people from Moms Demand Action. They were given BBC, Al Jazeera, CNN coverage. CNN would show close shots to not show there wasn't a crowd there, or would show our crowd with them standing in front of it and claim that that crowd was theirs. They threatened us, threatened to physically attack us. This is all on video on Infowars.com in the South by Southwest anti-gun event fails article. So the London Guardian reported on this, and we have their photos up there and our own video showing literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 media people in attendance in a giant auditorium for 5 anti-gunners on the stage to spew their victim disarmament. And here's the message of what I'm putting out. CNN, MSNBC are literally falling apart, going bankrupt, belly up, 300,000, 400,000 viewers. That is joke level. This Sunday show has 2 million listeners. My weekday show has 3 million. Much of talk radio has 10 million listeners a day, some of the bigger shows out there like Limbaugh. These people are a joke, but they always sit up there in the hoax like they culturally control everything. Just like the Attorney General said, we've got to literally brainwash the public with the media against guns. They literally want us as their prey to be disarmed. That is the conscious idea of Dianne Feinstein, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Michael Moore. All of them have bodyguards, their own guns, they're into guns. It is a criminal instinct to disarm your political enemies. As Mao Zedong said, all power, political power, grows out of the barrel of a gun. So they're having these events, but Anthony Gucciardi, our reporter, is coming up to talk about this, and he's doing some video interviews going to be airing later in the week on the Nightly News, talking to trendies at South by Southwest. Almost none of them are anti-gun. Almost none of them are pro-Obama or pro-Republican Party. They've totally woken up. Look at Congress with a 6% approval rating. It was 10% a year ago. What I'm saying is there's a total collapse of confidence in the system. But still, the mainstream media creates this illusion that Moms Against Gun Violence and Moms Demand Action and Million Mom March is really the 5 Mom March or the 5 Democratic Party operative control freak march. It is all a giant hoax. Just like South by Southwest is a hoax, where if somebody wants to start their own media, go out and make your own film, go out and make your own music, go out and make your own website. You're not going to learn anything at something like South by Southwest you couldn't learn online. Why pay thousands of dollars for the stupid badges? And again, I don't have sour grapes. I've spoken at South by Southwest, been at movie premieres I'm in South by Southwest, get invited every year to South by Southwest. And I just said a few years ago when they started censoring free speech, I'm boycotting South by Southwest, other than invading the big media conference to expose what a fraud it is. We're going to be doing this all week on the weekday radio show with myself and the crew and the reporters. And I'm told there's going to be an open carry march Thursday or Friday. We don't have the day yet from the different Texas groups to counter all 5 of the Bloomberg people giving the big silver platter presentation here for the media. So we're going to crash their event as well, totally take that over with open carry to show the general public that guns aren't dirty. Everybody should take photos of themselves with their guns, put it on Facebook, put it on Twitter, put out your own memes, do your own YouTube videos, crash the enemy platforms of Facebook, the enemy platforms of YouTube and Google, crash South by Southwest with the First Amendment, crash it with open carry, crash it with liberty, and show them who the real liberals are in the vein of Thomas Jefferson, not the fake cultural authoritarians who want to dominate everyone and spew race baiting and race division, selling their socialist agenda for mega banks offshore that are tax exempt, that want to destroy their competition, the free market. Do you understand that, ladies and gentlemen? This is what we're talking about. This is what we're dealing with. And we're about to go to break, but David Knight's got a lot coming up as well today from the InfoWars Command Center in Central Texas. We're going to go to break and come back and talk to David Knight. And we've also got a very, very exciting video that is coming up from Detroit, mainstream news, where the police chief saying, buy guns, arm yourself, defend yourself, and that's the only reason that suddenly Detroit crime is dropping in the last 2 years, because citizens have been arming themselves at the direction of the police, and the criminals are getting their butts shot off every day. Everywhere the globalists are in control, New York, Chicago, D.C., highest crime rates in the U.S. Everywhere they're not in control, low crime rates like Switzerland, places like Dallas, Texas, you name it, places like San Antonio. We're going to be right back. Stay with us.
In the last 50 years, iodine has been phased out of our staple foods and replaced with the halogen bromine, a practice now banned in nations around the world. Guess what else is in the halogen family? Fluoride. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here. In 1924, the federal government did the right thing and encouraged salt producers to add iodine. It's the good halogen on the periodic table, and the results are on record. Reports documented a 15-point IQ increase in areas that had previously been deficient in iodine. Bottom line, iodine is important. Unbound, clean, in a glycerin base. Nascent iodine was the answer for myself and my family. You will find Survival Shield Nascent Iodine exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWars Life Survival Shield Nascent Iodine isn't just for emergencies. I take it every day. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Alex Jones here with a message to fellow freedom lovers. The prognosis for the entire planetary economic system runs from bad to worse. The globalist model is to shut down societies and starve patriots out until they acquiesce to the global takeover. That's why we've assembled the most vital and important preparedness items at InfoWarsShop.com. These are items that I did research on, that I personally use. We've got the Life Straw, so you can turn fetid water into safe water anywhere you go. The K-Tor hand crank generator to charge up key equipment during power outages or out in the field. Strategic Relocation, 3rd edition by Joel Skousen. When Disaster Strikes by Matthew Stein. ThyroSafe, used by Homeland Security to protect yourself during any radiological event. Hand crank shortwave AM/FM radios. Everything that we've researched and found to be the best is available at InfoWarsShop.com, and your purchase makes our InfoWar possible. We're getting prepared. Are you? InfoWarsShop.com. Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filters today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. Why does the United States spend the largest percentage of GDP in the world on healthcare? Why do we have the highest cancer rates on the planet, the highest rates of diabetes, autism, and every other major disease? It all comes down to one thing. We are what we eat. Our food is devoid of nutrition and processed with poisons and additives. Our water is filled with toxic poisons and big pharma runoff. All of this has been engineered by design. We can turn the tide against the eugenicist by giving ourselves the nutrients our body desperately needs. To learn more, visit InfoWarsHealth.com. The site is literally packed with audio and video featuring top health professionals who don't bow down to big pharma. The fight against the New World Order starts with you, and you can't stand against the machine if you're sick, tired, and obese when you visit InfoWarsHealth.com. Be sure and check out the catalog with nearly 400 life-changing products and get free shipping when you sign up for AutoShip.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
The earth, riches, and wisdom. So we have even right there.
What's his name?
This is an emergency transmission.
worldwide North America.
There is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the info war.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're live on this Sunday Worldwide edition. Again, coming up is co-host David Knight and, of course, Infowars.com reporter and StoryLeak.com reporter Anthony Gucciardi to break down the way the system labels everything and creates these illusions. The illusion that everyone wants to turn their guns in when polls show almost 80% are now against it, and the forces of pro-gun, pro-survival, pro-self-defense are growing. Abortion is becoming more unpopular. Upwards of 70% are against it, flipping numbers from Roe v. Wade in 1973. On so many fronts, people don't trust the government. They don't trust the system anymore. I had the Austin police chief in just a few weeks ago, and he said, no, never before has government been so unpopular and so untrusted. And police tend to be where the rubber meets the road and get the blame for it, when they're not even involved in the policy of setting and dictating how police behave and what their mission is. And so you're going to see the establishment act more arrogant, more controlling, as if they are imperious and they have all the power and they have all the answers. And this is so well illustrated by one of the biggest media tech music conferences in the world, South by Southwest, financed at many levels by taxpayers, in the middle of Austin, Texas, with trendies from Japan to England, from Canada to Mexico, all over the world, traveling here, trying to get a job, trying to get noticed, trying to have an effect, trying to be part of a Hollywood scene that's already imploding and falling apart itself worldwide. True media, true independent journalism, true independent filmmaking is already supplanting the system. And people are more desperate than ever running to the system trying to get fulfillment. If you go to Infowars.com, you can see the story. South by Southwest anti-gun event fails. And they're having all these anti-gun events, and no one's showing up and no one's supporting it. And there are no real moms there. There are no real people against guns there. It's all financed, hardcore, Michael Bloomberg financed victim disarmament crews. Bloomberg has like 15 armed bodyguards when he was mayor. I've seen him on TV just a few weeks ago, a live feed in New York. He had like 6 bodyguards with him, packing heat. But he doesn't want you to be armed. These are usurpers dominating you. These are people who literally have a will to control you in your life, and it's outrageous. It's not liberal to try to disarm people. It's not liberal to race bait all day and say you're racist if you don't support Obamacare, or you're racist if you don't turn your guns in. That's the new talking points. These are people manipulating us who sit there with the fake moral authority and condescend all day telling us what to do. And that's the point I keep hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering. Is it's time to reject these voices. It's time to realize what jokes they are and to realize how they're using peer pressure to control us. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'm no fan of some of the stuff Vladimir Putin does or what goes on in Russia, but Russia's not expanding. Russia's not trying to flex its muscle. Russia isn't trying to manipulate my politics domestically to take my guns or to raise my taxes. The globalists are the ones too big to fail, stealing tens of trillions of taxpayer money. Warren Buffett and all the rest of them, the biggest recipients of bailout money. He's the one financing gun control as well. Of course you want to disarm who you're robbing. Of course you want to disarm who you've politically taken control of fraudulently to secure your ill-gotten political gains. We are being usurped. We are being conquered. Authoritarianism is taking over at every level because it's illegitimate, because the government has a 6% approval rating. And I'm sick of people, nothing against people with beards, but you know what I mean, beatniks, old pot-bellied fake hippies that literally are worth tens of millions of dollars, like Lewis Black, who owns South by Southwest, lecturing everyone about raising their taxes, lecturing everyone about turning your guns in, lecturing everyone about how families aren't good and the state owns your kids and how inoculation is the law and how Planned Parenthood's so good. All of this is authoritarianism, and they're consciously authoritarian. They're not environmentalist wackos. Obama's not some, old bozo idiot with Obamacare. They are hardcore political assassins. usurping in a piratical way society and civilization. They know what they're doing. They know the systems they're setting up. They understand it. They know it. And it's time for everybody, when someone tries to tell you with political correctness what to think, what to wear, how to act, that you're not a liberal, you're not a trendy, you're a control freak part of a cult. Quit telling me what to do. And the same thing goes for the Republican Party blue bloods at CPAC, trying to stop libertarian and constitutional ideas. The Republicans are part of the same power structure as the Democratic leadership, trying to suppress the American people. And it's time for Democrats and Republicans who want populism and common sense to come together and say, we want the whole Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, the free speech, the Second Amendment, the right to defense. We want the Fourth Amendment, the right to be secure in our papers, effects, and not be spied on by the NSA and not drive into checkpoints. The Fifth Amendment, to not have to self-incriminate and answer government questions. Right through the Sixth and the Seventh, to not have troops quartered in our homes and have access to lawyers. And right through the Ninth, that all the things listed in this Bill of Rights aren't all of our rights. We have all these other rights as well. And the 10th Amendment, you're supposed to have a federal and state government, so you don't have a centralization of control, just like the president's becoming dictatorial. We're going into a crisis. We're being taken over by unscrupulous globalist organizations that are totally and completely bloodthirsty and are ruthless. The people running our government all over the world would rather put dictatorships in and oligarchies in than free nations. I mean, they're trying to overthrow Ukraine, the West, and George Soros, to put in authoritarianism, not put in freedom. And then the Russians come in and take over an area that has their military bases and their gas lines. It's mainly Russian, and the media calls it an invasion, and now the Ukrainian troops are massing for a war with Russia. All of this started by Hillary Clinton and the rest of the globalists. These are not liberals. They use the little old lady thing, oh, I'm a trendy, oh, I'm a hippie, oh, I want to stop racism, as their cover. They're hardcore master villains, ladies and gentlemen. And you've got to understand that. The Democratic Party is the cutting edge of the New World Order. And as society collapses and as things unravel, remember, you judge a tree by its fruits, as Christ said. The fruits of trendy socialism and collectivism and progressivism is the fruits of slavery, the fruits of bondage, the fruits of tyranny, the fruits of being slaves. Look at where we're going. It isn't good. Now, coming up, we've got the newscast in Detroit where the police chief says, arm yourselves. And the head of Interpol says, arm yourselves. That lowers crime. Good things are happening. David Knight, you've got special reports coming up with yourself and Anthony Gucciardi here on the Alex Jones Show. Tell us as we go to break what's coming up.
That's right, Alex. We've got a lot more news about CPAC, about South by Southwest. You know, these are the two places in the last couple of days, and of course moving forward at South by Southwest, where they're trying to manufacture consent, not only for gun control, but for foreign wars, for the surveillance state. So we're going to look at what they're saying there, the back and forth. We even saw a journalist kicked out of CPAC. We're going to talk about the war on journalism.
That's right. They're trying to create the illusion that they're the establishment, the illusion they're in charge.
That's right.
It's like a 5-year-old telling his parents he's the boss and they bow down to it. Stop letting them rule your lives. Revolt intellectually against them. David Knight's coming up. He's going to be quarterbacking the whole show. Stay with us. Infowars.com. Spread the word.
Hi, folks. Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his 2-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach. And that's why I stock my pantry with high-quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today for special offers on emergency food storage, or call their preparedness specialist at 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Do business with someone who shares your values. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super male vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super male vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality. InfoWarsLife.com. In the last 50 years, iodine has been phased out of our staple foods and replaced with the halogen bromine, a practice now banned in nations around the world. Guess what else is in the halogen family? Fluoride. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here. In 1924, the federal government did the right thing and encouraged salt producers to add iodine. It's the good halogen on the periodic table, and the results are on record. Reports documented a 15-point IQ increase in areas that had previously been deficient in iodine. Bottom line, iodine is important. Unbound, clean, in a glycerin base. Nascent iodine was the answer for myself and my family. You will find Survival Shield Nascent Iodine exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWars Life Survival Shield Nascent Iodine isn't just for emergencies. I take it every day. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gate, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filters today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Crashing through the lies and disinformation. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, filling in for Alex. I'm joined here in studio with Anthony Gucciardi. We're here on this Sunday, March 9th, 2014. And as Alex was just talking about it, they're losing the war on gun control. They're losing the war on trying to start foreign wars, a war of surveillance against U.S. citizens. We've got a lot of information coming up about South by Southwest. Julian Assange had some interesting quotes about the nature of privacy and power and how you transfer one, you transfer the other. But we wanted to go first to this clip from the Detroit Police Chief, James Craig. Listen to what he has to say about citizens who are armed.
Now, Carmen, it's not often you hear the police chief of a major city encouraging residents to arm themselves. But in this case, that's what the police chief is doing. He is saying essentially that if thieves and robbers are going to come in and rape and pillage or worse, they need to be aware that the homeowners are going to be ready.
A lot of good Detroiters are fed up.
Chief James Craig among them. He says the bizarre cases of armed robbers even knowing the residents have guns and still breaking in shows a different brand of brazen criminal in Detroit, and he has a message for them.
The message should be that, you know, people are going to protect themselves. They're tired. They've been dealing with this epidemic of violence. They're afraid, and they have a right to protect themselves.
A woman with a concealed carry permit shot and killed a carjacker in a driveway this week. The chief says, as it should be.
You know, if you're confronted with an immediate threat to your safety, you never have time to dial 911. You know, I mean, so it becomes an issue of the threat's here, I have to respond to the threat.
He is careful to point out, unlike the Dearborn shooting of a few months ago, where an injured woman was merely knocking on a door when the homeowner fired through it, there needs to be a
Let's
true
come back,
threat
John. That's
coming
exactly
at you,
right.
They're
talking about two new events that just happened this week. Now, there was a third event that happened just a couple of weeks ago. If you remember, there was a mom who had been victimized with break-ins at her house. She got a surveillance camera. She got a gun. She protected her children from 3 thugs who were trying to do a home invasion. And the police caught the guy. She ran them off, and the police caught them. What would happen in a place like New York or Chicago? Well, that mom would be a criminal in the first place for even getting a gun to defend herself. And they probably wouldn't have caught the criminal. They usually don't. And then they would have arrested and prosecuted her. But as I pointed out in that video, just this last week in Detroit, you had a woman who had a concealed carry permit, shot and killed a man who was attempting to carjack her vehicle. In another case, you had a homeowner who shot to death a teenager who was trying to break into his home. And as the police chief pointed out, he says, you're confronted with an immediate threat to your safety. You're not going to have time to deal 911. It becomes an issue of the threat is here. I have to respond to the threat. He gets it. We all need a police chief like that. Fortunately, we're starting to win this war. We're starting to see several law enforcement officers like police chiefs starting to say that. We've got a police chief here in California. We got another article who is, this police chief is Police Chief Dan Bressler. Now, he's in the Palm Springs Valley area. He says that the crime rate there in his town is more than double the national average because there's a lot of drug gangs there. And of course, that's the real root of the problem, is the government's war on drugs, creating a prohibition-style atmosphere. When was the last time we had people shooting automatic machine guns, Tommy guns, riding the cars through the streets? That was during alcohol prohibition. Now you're starting to see that level of violence start to come up in some of the larger cities where they have prohibited guns. But he says, this is a police chief from California now. He says, it's time for us to issue concealed weapons licenses to law-abiding people of this city. I believe this will deter crime and help people feel safer. Absolutely right. Now, this police chief from Detroit, his name is James Craig. He's been in the news before. He was a police officer in California, and he believed that gun control made the city safer. Then he went to Vermont, and he got an education there. And then when he became police chief in Detroit, he brought that with him. He understood that guns in the hands of lawful, peace-abiding people makes the city safer. It makes his job easier, and he can focus on catching the criminals instead of just cleaning up the mess when people are attacked and killed. What do you think about that, Anthony?
Well, I think there's this grand delusion that so many people are against guns, against legal firearms, and that there's so many, you know, with Moms Against Guns and all of that, there's so many activists, or if you call them activists, who really are against the legal ownership of firearms. But that is a complete and utter lie. We have the statistics we're going to get into on this segment. We have the reality, the video, the showing what the real anti-gun people are like in the Alamo protest where we went to, myself and Alex, and you actually there as well. Yeah, we saw the real face of those who wanted to ban firearms. I mean, they got up in our faces. The guy tried to fight Alex and threatened him and said, come on, punch me in the face, punch me in the face.
Well, you and I were there for a long time, walking around, even trying to find them. There were literally over 1,000 gun owners there to talk about open carry. And there was like 3 or 4 people there for Moms demanding action or whatever. And they were so far away from the rally. They were supposed to be there as a counter rally. They were so far away and so few in number. You and I walked around for a long time trying to find them. Of course. Then we went back, got in our car, and started looking for them again. Finally, we found them, and there was essentially nobody there.
Well, the New York Times was trying to find them as well as Al Jazeera. And then when they did find them, they acted like they had such a strong presence there. Yeah. The local news did report, and they reported on what we were doing too, that there was virtually no one there for their protest and all of the people that went out to the open carry march at the Alamo in San Antonio. But I do want to get into, in the next segment, specifically, we can touch on a little bit here, what I call the Hollywood con syndrome, and how at a societal root level, this is literally the explanation, I believe, for what we're seeing with all this insanity, with the South by Southwest scenario promoting gun control, with Facebook coming out and saying that any page that promotes guns in any capacity, posts pictures of guns, even if it's a gun store, whose livelihood relies on you know, the posting of weapons, legal firearms for citizens of this country.
That's how they want
being shut down.
That's how they want to win the debate in social media. They didn't talk about that. how the way they intend on winning the media is by completely shutting down and censoring the other side. Also by demonizing it and scaring people about guns and gun owners. But just take them off of Facebook. That kind of helps if you don't have anybody who's pro-gun allowed to say anything or show anything on Facebook. It kind of helps your social media campaign, doesn't it?
They've accepted their defeat. They've accepted that, according to Gallup, only 4% of Americans think gun control is an important problem. And we'll get into how they actually care about the economy. 16% are completely dissatisfied with government, and it's just this small poll as the #1 thing. 16% say government needs to go.
Yes. Well, I think it's interesting, this Moms Demand action. It's really Moms Demand confiscation. They initially started out as the Million Mom March. And because of lack of participation and nobody showing up, because they don't speak for moms. You know who speaks for moms? Sometimes it's the moms who are having their car carjacked, the moms who are defending their kids from a home invasion. What speaks for them is a loaded shotgun and you know, taking care of themselves. But they can't win this debate, and you've got papers like The Guardian where they show the picture at the very top of the article. They've got everybody crowded together with signs. It looks like they've got a large crowd there, but when you go to the bottom of the article, you see this picture that we put up on InfoWars where you see that they don't even have 3 rows of people.
Oh yeah.
They've got just a few people, and that's 3 gun control groups. So between 3 gun control groups, they can't even fill up 3 rows of seats.
No, because it's all fake. It's all the Hollywood calm syndrome where it's all bloated and they act like it's real based on fear and emotion. The reality is that no one supports it logically at a statistical level. Now, we're going to play that video coming up where Alex and I are talking to this Moms Demand Action Group, which had like 3 people there, a woman, her husband, and their friend. And they were saying, no, we don't want to ban guns. We don't want to ban guns. We just want to have active gun control to stop crime. But if you look, we actually have one of their pamphlets. The first thing, it says require background checks for all gun and ammunition purchases. Number 2, it says ban assault weapons and ammunition magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. Ban assault weapons.
Yes.
So they were saying, well, we don't want to ban guns. And we're saying, well, you want to ban assault weapons.
And you notice that they're going after ammunition as well.
Oh, of course.
And that's been a big part of this. One of the quotes that they had in this Guardian article was one of these gun controllers said, you know, the problem in the United States is that there's more guns in the U.S. than there are people. Does he have a problem with the fact that the Department of Homeland Security is buying 10 bullets for every person in the United States? I have a problem with that. I have a problem with them getting anti-personnel bullets like hollow points and that quantity to be used here domestically. I have a big problem with that. I don't have a problem with the fact that there's more guns in the United States than there are people. That's not a problem.
All the real threats are completely ignored. The government is allowed to have everything. We're not allowed to have anything. And all of this rhetoric and insanity, giving them a scene to ban assault weapons, ban everything, it's all based on propaganda and lies with no actual background.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other toxic members of the fluoride family are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the American people. So why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We may not have been able to get fluoride out of the water supply yet, but we can help to get it out of our bodies. I am extremely excited to announce the exclusive InfoWars Life Fluoride Shield formulation, fusing 6 of the best documented ingredients from around the world to help the body remove not just toxic fluoride residues from the body, but a whole host of toxic substances. Let's take a stand against the globalists by blocking their poisons with Fluoride Shield. I use Fluoride Shield every day. Secure your Fluoride Shield and other pioneering formulations at InfoWarsLife.com today. Let's start cleansing our bodies now and support the InfoWar at the same time. That's InfoWarsLife.com. My friends, Alex Jones here to tell you about some of the most important information concerning you and your family's health. Radiation levels have more than doubled in the last 60 years in the Northern Hemisphere from all of the nuclear testing and radiological accidents. Radioactive contamination is now in most of the food supply. There's only 2 ways to avoid this. Move south of the equator or properly protect your thyroid with nascent iodine. Looking to protect my family, I've done deep research. Nascent iodine is the purest, cleanest, absolute best form of iodine to protect yourself and your family. It's made right here in the USA, completely non-GMO. I searched out the best quality and now have developed a double-strength form of nascent iodine, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Nascent iodine is on record as one of the only safe ways to detox from fluoride poisoning. Survival Shield Nascent Iodine. Secure your super high-quality nascent iodine today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com. The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super male vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super male vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality. InfoWarsLife.com. Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
We now take you live to the Central Texas Command Center in the heart of the resistance. You're listening to the Alex Jones Show.
A gun grab is something that nobody in this country wants.
Sir, all I can say is you are really getting in my space, like your wife come over and push up against me.
Why don't you back up?
No, I'm not going to back up.
Good.
You're the one got in my space.
You know
Look at this guy.
Stop.
All right, go ahead. You listen, I don't want to beat an old guy up, so don't touch me, all right?
This guy could take you out in a heartbeat.
I bet he could. I'm not violent.
Why do you think it's okay to sell a gun to someone that you don't know that's not been through a background check?
Should we have a background check for bathtubs every time we take a bath?
We should have a background check for guns.
Should we have a background check for knives?
Well, what you're listening to is a confrontation in San Antonio, the open carry rally.
Have you read
This was Alex Jones and Anthony Gucciardi talking to the 2 or 3 people there that were for, I guess they were originally from the Million Mom March. They had to kind of scale it down since they couldn't get a million people. Yeah,
they were 2 out of 3 people that were there.
That's right.
Fortunately,
there were thousands of people there marching for open carry, and these people were probably a mile or 2 away. Took us a long time to find them.
Well, me and David actually embarked on a journey of our own in the beginning. While Alex was finishing up speaking there, we said, hey, you know what? Let's go find those million moms because we want to talk to them and do some video. We saw a few different people we thought were them, but they were running for cancer or something. There was like 20, 30 of them, and we couldn't find them. We kept saying, where are they? They said, well, they're like down there a mile or so. Eventually, we get there, and there's like 3 people in a bar tent drinking martinis or something with this huge banner, Moms Against Guns or whatever it is. And we ended up talking to them. And out of all the people, we talked to all these open carry people with huge, AR-15s and everything. They were really nice, excellent people. Out of all the people we talked to, the Moms Against Guns were the most violent.
Yes.
If you were able to watch the video online through Infowars.com/show, you would have seen that guy going up to Alex. He was like smacking his wife away and everything when she was trying to defuse the situation, trying to fight Alex. I talked to him a little bit as well. and asked them if we should have background checks to purchase knives, and asked them why they wanted to ban weapons. They kept saying they didn't, when number 2 point on their little pamphlet is ban assault weapons.
Yeah, yeah. But they want to track the sale of ammunition and guns online. They want to have child-safe gun technology, and they want to require background checks for all gun and ammunition purchases. I mean, this is their agenda. They're really moms demanding confiscation, but it's just a handful of them. And the sad thing about it was that as angry as this man was and his wife, they were angry. Their daughter had been killed in a shooting incident, but they were blaming legal gun owners. And that was the point that Alex was trying to make to them, is that if your daughter was killed in an automobile accident, you wouldn't try to ban automobiles, would you? Or if they died in a bathtub, which is more likely. If you've got a bathtub in your home, you're much more likely to die there than you are to get shot. So should we ban all bathtubs or all cars? No, we try to take measures to treat people as if they're innocent until proven guilty in America. And we have some fundamental rights to protect ourselves. And just as we were talking about earlier in the last segment, we played the Detroit police chief, and there have been 3 incidents in Detroit where citizens have defended themselves, and he understands that calling 911 is not an option. You can call 911 and try to get these guys to catch the bad guys, but that isn't going to protect you in the meantime. And the police chief in Detroit understands that. These people don't.
Well, you know, it goes exactly, you did an excellent segue. We didn't even talk about this before, going into exactly what I wanted to talk about. To give you one example of this, and I want to get into the grand spectrum of it, and also later I want to reveal how I think they're going to attempt to disarm the Second Amendment, not through gun control, but through a new biotechnology option that will go into transhumanism and everything. But basically, for right now, for the softer end of this, I wanted to talk about what I called the Hollywood con that I mentioned earlier. And the gun control example is perfect fitting for this. Here's why. 980,000 or so, according to the Journal of Criminology, attacks, potential homicides are prevented with firearms, you know, legal firearms within the United States of America. Right. But then you ask someone, as I did one time on a video that went really big, I asked someone, how many people do you think die each year from assault weapons? You know, and he said, I think 30,000 people, he said. I think 30,000. Some people said, I think 90,000. It's you know, actually like 300 or something like that. It's very low. Actually, you know, knives kill more people. Bats and hammers kill more people. But then you ask, you know, why is there not major media attention on knives, hands and fists, and everything like that going after them, or automobiles, or pharmaceutical drugs, which kill like 700,000 people a year? Well, it's all because of this con system where it's not based on logic or statistic, but instead it's based on fear and emotion. And any successful politician throughout history, from Caesar to Obama, has utilized this technique in full force. And specifically, I'm talking about smart politicians using emotions to trump logic in every single case. Now, this can be done thanks to Hollywood. Hollywood reinforces this point. Now, specifically what I'm talking about is, take the Occupy movement, for example. No real goals, no real statistic behind what they're doing, no real logic. They're frustrated, they're scared, and they're overall just exuding elements of upset. You know, they're angry. And what were they trying to accomplish? Well, who really knows? They were just out there just protesting, and it wasn't a horrible thing. A lot of them were Obama fans. But then you have things like the gun control fanatics who obsess over media fear, who obsess over CNN telling them how bad assault weapons are. And how does that happen? Well, Obama goes on air, or Caesar at the time would go on air and say, you know, it doesn't matter the statistics, doesn't matter the reality. Someone killed a bunch of children today, or, you know, something happened with an assault weapon today. And even though it's an isolated, illogical incident that has no relevance to the overall hierarchy of real mathematics of what's going on, when you consider how many thousands of people are saved, it does not matter. It's all based on fear and emotion.
And they do that by making a personal story out of it. They make it visceral, they make it emotional because they tell a personal story. It's like I think it was Stalin that said, one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic.
Yes.
If we throw statistics out there, it doesn't do anything to people. They very cleverly understand that they can use a story. They can get one person up and say, tell us your story about how you were shot at, or
of course,
somebody that you know that died.
And the show House of Cards does a great job with this. When Kevin Spacey goes up numerous times in the face of real scandal, in the face of real serious corruption and crime, and he starts crying and everything and just tells this amazing speech and all is forgiven. That's how it really works in real life. But
or Nixon's Checkers speech.
Yeah,
my little dog Checkers. Yeah.
Exactly. They're desperately afraid of us. Why? Because we bring information to the centerfold, not logic or fear, just complete information. All the articles we're doing, all this research is all linked up with all these sources and everything. It's all hard information. Someone can go in there and prove things. Someone can go in there and look at it. That's what Alex is doing here on a daily basis. That's what we're doing. We're showing the information as the center point, as the crux of all of it, instead of this fear and illogical madness. And Hollywood backs up the Hollywood con, because what they do is predictive programming, as we were talking about before. But specifically, Hollywood likes to paint everything as just this ride of emotion and fear and craziness instead of reality. It's just like the movie Contagion, or however you say it, where the one guy in the beginning, basically the idea is this mass flu breaks out and is killing everyone except for a few people that are resistant to this strain of the flu. But then there's this guy with horrible teeth, because he has to, he has to look evil, who presents himself, oh, natural medicine can help. Which actually it can. Over and over again, we find that natural medicine like garlic can wipe out superbugs.
Yes.
And he says, I can help you. And they all, are kind of resistant, but they believe him. And it makes it appear as if he's curing the flu throughout like the whole movie. But then at the very end, like the very last minute of the whole movie, when this guy is actually helping, it looks like he's helping people. At the very last minute, he's like, yeah, they didn't actually help. I just wanted money. And they put him in jail and give everyone a vaccine, and they're cured.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the insanity of it.
It's predictive programming. It's putting a template out there, and it is very, very powerful. Even the Batman movie, where they show a terrorist attack collapsing the football stadium, and the guy is running and everything is collapsing behind him. You see it collapsing, and you're wondering if it's going to suck him down. He doesn't see it. He's just running, and he stops and turns around. Now, that's a movie, but they put that out there. And then when people go to the NFL games and they get treated like slaves, have hands put all over them, tell them, you can't bring in anything in here unless it's in a transparent little box. And they subconsciously, I think, will go back to, yeah, that's right. Yeah, something like that could happen. You know what I'm saying? It plants that into your subconscious or even into your conscious. You consciously think about that. And it's very, very effective to do that.
It's multi-pronged. There's a web. Looking at South by Southwest, a lot of these people there, I was down in Austin actually talking to some of them today. A lot of them are literally conned by Hollywood, by the establishment, and they believe that they're going to South by Southwest, and if they pay $1,200 for a badge to go to some event function where corporations are trying to sell them the latest gadgets, that they're going to somehow become big and they're going to become celebrities. Or if they can go find out the place where Kevin Bacon went today, which is a huge thing everyone was talking about, and sit next to him and taking a picture with their iPhone or something, they could be cool and they could be in proximity to power, which leads them to believe that they have power.
Yeah.
And that is the whole delusion. The system deludes people so they don't actually have success, so they don't actually have inspiration and passion. And instead, they follow this Hollywood con, from worshiping Obama and believing that he's actually looking out for our best interest, to listening to the mainstream media, to trying to become the establishment and not realizing it's all a joke con game. You're not going to become some big celebrity by going to corporate functions and shelling out tons of dollars to go walk around and, celebrity hunt.
It's kind of like 6 Degrees of Separation with Kevin Bacon. Just buying a ticket and going to South by Southwest doesn't make you.
You are now associated with Kevin Bacon. You might as well be an A-list celebrity. But a lot of them, though, the good news is this is a message of victory. This is a message, a red alert success message to keep pushing on, because a lot of the people I did talk to,
hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro 1 filters today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other toxic members of the fluoride family are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the American people. So why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We may not have been able to get fluoride out of the water supply yet, but we can help to get it out of our bodies. I am extremely excited to announce the exclusive InfoWars Life Fluoride Shield formula formulation, fusing 6 of the best documented ingredients from around the world to help the body remove not just toxic fluoride residues from the body, but a whole host of toxic substances. Let's take a stand against the globalists by blocking their poisons with Fluoride Shield. I use Fluoride Shield every day. Secure your Fluoride Shield and other pioneering formulations at InfoWarsLife.com today. Let's start cleansing our bodies now and support the info war at the same time. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind enemy lines, the information war continues. It's Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight filling in for Alex, and I'm here in studio with Anthony Gucciardi. We've been talking about the big public events that have been happening this last week. We had CPAC that's just finished, a lot of political news coming out of that, as well as what's going on here in Austin, South by Southwest. And the way they're using that, we've just been talking about how they use that to control the public, to essentially manufacture consent. And of course, an important part, Anthony, of manufacturing consent is to make sure that what they're telling us is really working. And so they have to surveil everything that we do. Now, one of the people that was at South by Southwest, we've been talking a lot about the gun control groups that were meeting there that really didn't have anybody show up to their presentation. Even though there's 3 gun control groups, they couldn't fill up 3 rows of people, even with the press there. But we did have Julian Assange speaking via Skype there, and he had an interesting comment about privacy. What he said here is, what's going on is an unprecedented theft of wealth from the majority of the population by those who already have a lot of power. And they're doing this in part by stealing information from all of us. Knowledge is power, and they're accumulating a lot of power. When I look at the way that they're trying to manipulate us through social media, and that was what this meeting at South by Southwest on gun control was about. It was about manipulating the public through social media by making sure that people can't say or put anything up about guns on Facebook at the same time that they're going to use it to put their side of the story out. It's a massive transfer of power. They're trying to control people, and they also want to see if people are buying their message. That's really what all this metadata is about, isn't it?
Their actions signify a message of victory and success, because we see them scurrying, freaking out, teaming up with Facebook to censor everyone posting pictures of themselves with weapons. By the way, I did that today. Great response. Everyone needs to fight back against Facebook, who's saying you're not allowed to post pictures of firearms, even if you're a gun shop. You're not allowed to do anything with firearms because they've teamed up with these Moms Against Guns and everything. You're not allowed to do that anymore. I've started doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. Everyone needs to do that to fight back. It's the Streisand effect. When someone actually tries to censor someone, it ultimately becomes larger. So ultimately, what's come now is South by Southwest, the owner, as Alex was talking about earlier in the show, in the very beginning, has tried to come down on legal firearm owners by setting up all these events, these anti-gun events, and it's fallen flat on its face.
And one of the groups that was there was Bloomberg's Mayors Against Illegal Guns, which a lot of mayors have blown the whistle on as well. But of course, he was there at the South by Southwest event, and he is the one who is working with Facebook to try to make sure that they censor any information about guns. Yeah, it's just not going to work. It's going to go the same direction that Piers Morgan went.
That's
when
exactly
they tried to shove things down everybody's throat. What happened to them? If Facebook tries to do this, you're going to see Facebook plummet as a platform.
Exactly right. And they're not going to be able to contain all the people posting pictures of guns, legal firearms, and all the reality and statistics. In fact, instead of just posting ourselves with guns, which we should do, and I've already begun doing, we should start posting the statistics over and over and over and over again so people see the statistics, because that's what they're ultimately afraid of. They don't want to talk about logic or reason or statistics, as I talked about earlier. They want to censor everyone and make everyone afraid of assault weapons because they're scary looking. But it reminds me now, they're losing, and they know they're losing. We're going to get into how the scientists now admit that Fukushima has already hit the West Coast and it's already coming in waves. We told you that 2011, 2012. We were called crazy. And Obama, we're going to play the clip of Obama saying that that would never happen. But specifically, you were telling me at CPAC, a journalist was detained for just trying to get a book signed, and that tell us.
Yeah, this is Dan Dix from Press for Truth, and he was in line. He had a book that was written by
Newt Gingrich, and he wanted to get Newt Gingrich to sign his book, and he was going to get a quick question in to Newt Gingrich because, of course, if you're an alternative journalist, you're not going to get an audience with His Majesty. That's the way they control the press, is through access.
But they had to screen him beforehand.
Well, the interesting thing is that as he's waiting to get in, they pulled him out of line, out of a large crowd of people. And I've got a big question about that I want to talk about when we come back. Why did they pull him out of this big crowd of people? Now, he's been talking about things, they would know who he is, but he is not that famous that they would recognize him. So what's going on with that? We're going to talk about that right after we come back. Stay tuned.
Hi, folks. Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his two-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach. And that's why I stock my pantry with high-quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today for special offers on emergency food storage or call their preparedness specialist at 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Do business with someone who shares your values. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex.
With your friends.
KLN, Los Angeles. Clone Radio. We play the songs that sound more like everyone else than anyone else. Clone.
Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. The Republic will rise again when you attempt to take our guns.
I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man.
The answer to 1984 is 1776. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Welcome back to The Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight here in studio, live with Anthony Gucciardi. And we were just talking before the break, Anthony, about what happened at CPAC, this journalist that got pulled out. But I want to read this from the Gridiron dinner last night. This is a quote from John Kerry. Now, of course, these are politicians kind of making fun of themselves, okay, and putting things out that... not necessarily making fun of each other, but making fun of themselves. Listen to this comment, though, from John Kerry. He says, it's so nice to put faces to the metadata. Now, people laughed. I'm sorry, but if I was there, I couldn't laugh about that. We'll know that we're getting somewhere when people are no longer able to laugh about that kind of surveillance. They simply get angry. Maybe they groan or maybe they hiss or whatever. But they should not be laughing about that. And here's the example that we were talking about just before the break. At CPAC, we had a journalist, Dan Dix, Press for Truth, a small alternative media. He's known, but he's not known like he would be recognized like somebody that's on Fox News, for example, by face. He is in a very long line of people to get in a book signing with Newt Gingrich so he can get face-to-face and ask him a question because, of course, Newt Gingrich isn't going to give him an interview, okay, because that's the way they use access to control the media. They control the mainstream media through access. So he's in the line. He's quite a bit further back, and they have all of a sudden a bunch of security officers descend on him and say, we think you're a threat. We want to see what you're carrying. Make him empty all of his pockets. They see that he has no threat, and then they escort him out of CPAC and will not say anything to him, just take him out of there. Now, my question when I look at this is, how did they recognize Dan in that sea of people? Did they look at everybody that had bought a CPAC ticket and go down and say, here's a journalist. Here's a journalist that's going to ask us questions that we might not be familiar with. Let's keep an eye on him. Do they have facial recognition? You know, what's this metadata that they're putting faces to, as John Kerry says?
Well, I think there's no question they're screening people.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the fact that they've lost the information battle, and they can no longer stand the assault of reality that's coming to them when journalists
They
go
just
up and
want to
ask them
censor it.
questions.
They just want to
Exactly.
censor it.
So
Yeah.
that's when you know we've really won. And it also, at the same time, though, gets really scary because it means they're willing to do anything in case of defending their empire. So when they cannot even argue anymore, they don't even want to have interviews. They don't even want to talk to anyone. They don't even want to put up with it. They just have you arrested now immediately if you try to even go up to someone.
Isn't it interesting that Newt Gingrich is supposedly one of the most articulate people in the Republican Party? He doesn't feel like he can take on an alternative journalist. He's got to have him thrown out of the event.
And, it might not even be specifically him. It might be the event people going and saying, oh, an alternative journalist.
Yes.
Wow, we need to get rid of him.
Yeah.
It might be the CPAC employees going around. Because just like the TSA, it's the TSA agents sometimes themselves that are on these immense power trips that are completely absurd and insane and molesting people.
Still, somehow they had to know who he was. They had to be able to recognize his face or had to single him out in some way out of the crowd. That's what I find troubling. I want to take your calls on CPAC and some of these other issues, South by Southwest, that we're talking about. Let me give you the number for Sunday. It's 877-789-ALEX. That's 877-789-2539. If you want to call in and weigh in on what you think happened with CPAC this last week. Now, of course, they had a poll at the end, and Rand Paul won that pretty handily. And the number 2 was Ted Cruz, but it was a little bit closer on Drudge, wasn't it?
Well, I'm more interested in the Drudge poll. That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
And if we have that on screen, when I checked it just shortly ago, Rand Paul is dominating. Ted Cruz was close behind, but overall, it seems like the whole pulse of the real conservative nation right now is Ted Cruz and Rand Paul.
Yes, they were neck and neck at about 30% last I saw it. Everybody else was about 4, 5, 6%.
Well, think about what that signifies, though. It's not Newt Gingrich. It's not Jeb Bush. It's not Rick Perry. It's Rand Paul and Ted Cruz. You think about that. In 2014, we're at a point now, they would be considered, they are considered alternative conspiracy theorists by many people. And here they are, dominating these polls with hundreds of thousands of people voting. I mean, the Drudge poll is more legitimate than the CPAC.
Yes. Can you imagine Jeb Bush saying we need to abolish the IRS, no matter how corrupt they are? No matter how they are using the IRS against political enemies and continue to do it after it's exposed. That's the most amazing thing. I believe all presidents have been doing this with the IRS. And, of course, they're controlling all of our behavior through the income tax code, right? But when they get caught doing this, instead of being impeached, they just continue to do it. And the IRS commissioner takes the fifth twice, even though we can't take the fifth on anything with the IRS tax forms. It's an outrage, but the only ones to speak to these types of things are Ted Cruz and Rand Paul. That's why you see them leading in the opinion polls on Drudge, where it really matters.
What does that signify to you?
I think we're, like you said, I think we're winning. And I think they're really getting desperate. And I think the old school Republican leadership, the old country club leadership that's represented by people like Jeb Bush and by Newt Gingrich, I think they're very much afraid of this. You've got McCain, who's out there saying that that Ted Cruz needs to apologize, that he crossed the line, because what Ted Cruz said was that McCain and Dole and these other guys, they're all good men, he said. They're decent men, but they don't stand and draw a clear distinction. They don't stand for principle. And so Democrats celebrate that. That's what he's saying. They don't stand for anything except the same things that the Democrats stand for, which is greater government control of your life.
Well, I've never been left or right, and this has always been the case. We all know about the left-right paradigm and everything, how it's many of the same sides. But it really does seem like the conservative Republican movement is going on the right side with this. They're all culminating together to the right principles and standing behind Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, who aren't perfect, as no one is.
Right. That's right.
But it really does seem to be a quantum phase shift to the conservative movement going ahead. And the left, I mean, it's not even really called the conservative movement anymore to me. It's almost like the third party of reality is bolstering. And it seems like Drudge is just so on target with everything that it's, all third party reality. And that many of the conservatives now realize that people like Jeb Bush and all of those other losers are not real conservatives.
That's
and
right.
from the beginning, real conservatism has been what is now considered, truth, alternative news, just all of the things that we stand for. And same with the left. The real left people would stand for this too. So it's almost like you see the Democratic Party degenerating at such a fast pace. as you see the right kind of phase shifting, realizing that all the viewers, all the attention, all the everything is on this new reality third party.
I think people are starting to understand that you have to have freedom in all these different areas. It makes a difference if you have privacy. It makes a difference if you can defend yourself. It makes a difference if you don't get the government involved in every war. And yet we see that's the same stuff that McCain is still offering people.
I mean, at the very least, it's maybe like some of these real conservatives don't want to destroy the country. They just want to have crony capitalism or something and make a lot of money and you know, allow people to have some guns. But the left, it seems like they literally just want to destroy the cities, just want to completely have crime go rampant. They just want to have mass abortions, and they just want to just completely destroy everything until it degrades to zero. And I am definitely not a Republican. I'm definitely not a Democrat. You know, I'm looking at this from the side of common sense, from reality, statistics, and facts. And it does look like the left overall, the ultra left, does want to completely take everything down with them and raise the tax to 100%.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this breaks down, and I'm interested to see what people think about it, because NPR and other people were saying that, well, we've got Rand Paul out there talking about libertarian issues, about freedom issues, about non-interventionism, and of course they want to portray that as isolationism. John Bolton is saying what we've got now is isolationism. Really? When we go to the border of Russia and try to start a hot war with them, try to start the Cold War, they consider that to be isolationism? That is scary. That is real scary. We're going to be back. Take your calls right after this break. Stay tuned.
Why does the United States spend the largest percentage of GDP in the world on healthcare? Why do we have the highest cancer rates on the planet, the highest rates of diabetes, autism, and every other major disease? It all comes down to one thing. We are what we eat. Our food is devoid of nutrition and processed with poisons and additives. Our water is filled with toxic poisons and big pharma runoff. All of this has been engineered by design. We can turn the tide against the eugenicist by giving ourselves the nutrients our body desperately needs. To learn more, visit InfoWarsHealth.com. The site is literally packed with audio and video featuring top health professionals who don't bow down to big pharma. The fight against the New World Order starts with you, and you can't stand against the machine if you're sick, tired, and obese. When you visit InfoWarsHealth.com, be sure and check out the catalog with nearly 400 life-changing products, and get free shipping when you sign up for AutoShip. In the last 50 years, iodine has been phased out of our staple foods and replaced with the halogen bromine, a practice now banned in nations around the world. Guess what else is in the halogen family? Fluoride. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here. In 1924, the federal government did the right thing and encouraged salt producers to add iodine. It's the good halogen on the periodic table, and the results are on record. Reports documented a 15-point IQ increase in areas that had previously been deficient in iodine. Bottom line, iodine is important. Unbound, clean, in a glycerin base. Nascent iodine was the answer for myself and my family. You will find Survival Shield Nascent Iodine exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWars Life Survival Shield Nascent Iodine isn't just for emergencies. I take it every day. That's InfoWarsLife.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gate, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filters today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. Alex Jones here with a message to fellow freedom lovers. The prognosis for the entire planetary economic system runs from bad to worse. The globalist model is to shut down societies and starve patriots out until they acquiesce to the global takeover. That's why we've assembled the most vital and important preparedness items at InfoWarsShop.com. These are items that I did research on, that I personally use. We've got the life straw, so you can turn fetid water into safe water anywhere you go. The K-Tor hand crank generator to charge up key equipment during power outages or out in the field. Strategic Relocation, 3rd edition by Joel Skousen. When Disaster Strikes by Matthew Stein. ThyroSafe, used by Homeland Security to protect yourself during any radiological event. Hand crank shortwave AM/FM radios. Everything that we've researched and found to be the best is available at InfoWarsShop.com, and your purchase makes our InfoWar possible. We're getting prepared. Are you? InfoWarsShop.com.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
We are on the march. The Empire is on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, live here in studio with Anthony Gucciardi. And we were just talking before the break about what was going on with CPAC. What's really going on with the heart and soul of the Republican Party? Well, you know, some of it doesn't ever seem to change. We've got John McCain saying, when he was asked by MSNBC's Andrea Mitchell about the options for a U.S. attack on, get this, Russia. It's not Syria anymore or Libya. It's now Russia that they want to engage. McCain said, I'd love to tell you that there is an option about U.S. attacking Russia, Andrea, but frankly, I do not see it. I wish that there were. I don't see a military option, and it's tragic. He thinks it's tragic that we don't have a way that we can start a hot war with Russia. Of course, we are trying to start the Cold War again. That's going to help his military-industrial complex buddies, isn't it?
It's really, really tragic that we cannot start a nuclear holocaust via World War III. That just makes a tear come to my eye.
It's like Dr. Strangelove.
Exactly. You know what else is really tragic? That they're pushing this over on the American people, who 90% of the people that I've, at least from my understanding of this, based on all of the user feedback, all of the comments, all of the social media response, are people that have just gone online and seen pictures of protesters from the Ukraine and heard that, oh, they're hurting the protesters. Russia, they think that Russia is shooting them with sniper rifles when it was all US-backed CIA takeover. But they think that Russia is the one attacking the protesters. And they think that Russia is invading them after attacking the protesters. That's how totally ignorant they are of this whole subject. And that's why they're able to go ahead and come on television and say, yes, we need to attack Russia. We need to start World War III over these protesters. And everyone, it just reminds me of the Occupy movement. It's like every single time there's a protest, the protesters are immediately perfect. Like, the American people love a good protest. So if it's in another country, they don't even listen to the politics.
Well, not always. They didn't like the Tea Party protest.
Oh,
That's probably the biggest protest I've seen in my lifetime, and they were demonized for it. Right? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But if it's in the Ukraine, then the protesters are great no matter what, and it's, you know, evil.
Well, you know, the wisdom of the Founding Fathers was that we don't involve ourselves in foreign intrigue. You know, there's a lot of very complicated stuff going on there. We've got snipers that are shooting at both sides of the protesters and the police. Who's behind those snipers? Well, we can argue about that. We can argue about why are these NGO organizations like John McCain's International Republican Institute, why are they sending tons of money to the Ukraine? We can argue about that. Let's not get involved in that.
I don't want to get into the Ukraine scenario. I'm just saying, because it's such an intense geopolitical situation, there's no good sides. But the only thing that would be good is to actually kind of know what's going on, instead of having all this insane propaganda going out there to push World War III to the citizens that unfortunately have no idea what's even happening.
Exactly. The insane thing would be not get involved in this very complicated foreign intrigue. That was the foreign policy that served us very well. That was the wisdom of the Founding Fathers, who advised us against that, to not go abroad seeking monsters to destroy and get involved in their perpetual wars in Europe. We should do that, and we should not start World War III. Let's go to a call here. We've got JT in Colorado. JT, you wanted to talk about sanctions in the Ukraine?
Hey, David.
Hey.
And Anthony, good talking with both of you. Yeah, the curious thing, when Obama decided that he was going to sanction Russia for, them going in and protecting their time-honored, long-time bases, that the first thing Putin did was say that he would stop importation of ammunition from the Soviet Union, 7.62-39 and
That's right.
7.62-54 ammo. Well, who does that help, David?
Exactly.
I think that helps Obama.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a very complicated situation, isn't it? Hopefully we can get somebody in who is going to make the case, as we see. I think it's part of the popularity of Rand Paul, is that he's making the case that we don't need to get involved and intervene in every single foreign war, and it gets piled intrigue on top of intrigue, and certainly that's going to be something that's going to affect us directly. There's also the pushback against the dollar. There's the trade war that's going to erupt out of this. There's many, many, many dimensions, and every single war, whether it's a trade war, whether it's a Cold War, whether it's a shooting war, who gets stronger? The governments do. The American government will get stronger from this. The Russians will get stronger from this. Every time there's a conflict like that, they use it. It is the lifeblood of the state, isn't it, Anthony?
Well, yeah, I think the secret is why Rand Paul is gaining so much success, why Ted Cruz is gaining so much success, is they're simple. They'll lay it on the line. And not everyone's perfect, I understand that. But in many ways, they'll lay it out on the line. Yes, I'm against the Federal Reserve. Yes, I'm against starting World War III with Russia. It's these simple little things any common sense person would be against.
Yes.
But it's like there's no political figure that's willing to go out and say that, because it's all bought and paid for. They're all part of the establishment, so they won't do it. But it's like these key ones that go out and actually say what we want. And
people are tired of being manipulated into all of these conflicts. And we understand how they've been trying to, exactly, they understand how we've been manipulated and trying to get us involved in Syria and other places. Thank you, JT in Colorado. Let's go to Julio in Illinois. You wanted to talk about CPAC and GMOs?
Yes, good afternoon. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Anthony Gucciardi, I'm a big fan of your work, and I did a documentary for the InfoWar contest titled Genetically Modified Society. I'm trying to...
You know what? That's a great film. I've seen that.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Anthony. I appreciate it. I'd like to interview you. I'm trying to finish that documentary and would like to interview you. Don't know of a way to do it.
Well, just send us over an email, send me a message on Facebook. But did you want to talk about GMOs and CPAC?
Yeah, my comment on CPAC, I was watching it throughout the weekend, and David, you brought up the question on Friday during your show, and I was watching can conservatives and libertarians coexist? I was watching that part of CPAC, and Michael Medved, boy, this neocon, he really loves to try to keep the two-party system, and he basically said in his entire speech that the only way libertarians can have any effect is if they join the Republican Party. I thought it was laughable. So they're trying to tame any third-party presence. And if you saw from the CPAC straw poll with Rand Paul winning, one of the biggest surprises I saw was Dr. Ben Carson. This man's not even talked about in terms of the corporate establishment media, someone who's a contender. I personally don't think he's a contender, but to see that man, a black man, actually talk about real conservative issues, I thought that was interesting. He finished in third place. And then finally, I was watching Meet the Corporate Press today on the national propaganda channel NBC, and David Gregory tried to blow off Rand Paul's victory at CPAC, telling Congressman Peter King, the winner of the CPAC really doesn't matter anymore, but Rand Paul won, and Peter King is trying to say that Rand Paul is, his target audience is like the lowest grade of individuals in the Republican Party, meaning those who are libertarian-minded. And that just goes to show you who these people really are, these neocons, these the Peter Kings.
Well, they're like peacocks. They pretend they're all huge and walk around and act like they're great and intelligent, but in reality they have no followers or listeners. And that's why Drudge Report, the poll on there, Rand Paul's dominating as well with Ted Cruz, the real conservatives that are actually going to go out and change things.
I think it's interesting with Ben Carson. Here's somebody who got involved speaking out against Obamacare, just an honest citizen, getting involved and standing up and saying, what he thinks. And then he gets targeted, of course, by the IRS. And he didn't cower down. He stood up to it. That's very powerful. And, Rand Paul is coming from a situation where has not been a lifetime career politician. People appreciate authenticity. We're going to be right back with your calls. Stay tuned.
globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super male vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super male vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality. InfoWarsLife.com. In the last 50 years, iodine has been phased out of our staple foods and replaced with the halogen bromine, a practice now banned in nations around the world. Guess what else is in the halogen family? Fluoride. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here. In 1924, the federal government did the right thing and encouraged salt producers to add iodine. It's the good halogen on the periodic table, and the results are on record. Reports documented a 15-point IQ increase in areas that had previously been deficient in iodine. Bottom line, iodine is important. Unbound, clean, in a glycerin base. Nascent iodine was the answer for myself and my family. You will find Survival Shield Nascent Iodine exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWars Life Survival Shield Nascent Iodine isn't just for emergencies. I take it every day. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Why does the United States spend the largest percentage of GDP in the world on healthcare? Why do we have the highest cancer rates on the planet, the highest rates of diabetes, autism, and every other major disease? It all comes down to one thing. We are what we eat. Our food is devoid of nutrition and processed with poisons and additives. Our water is filled with toxic poisons and big pharma runoff. All of this has been engineered by design. We can turn the tide against the eugenicist by giving ourselves the nutrients our body desperately needs. To learn more, visit InfoWarsHealth.com. The site is literally packed with audio and video featuring top health professionals who don't bow down to big pharma. The fight against the New World Order starts with you, and you can't stand against the machine if you're sick, tired, and obese. When you visit InfoWarsHealth.com, be sure and check out the catalog with nearly 400 life-changing products and get free shipping when you sign up for AutoShip. The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other toxic members of the fluoride family are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the American people. So why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We may not have been able to get fluoride out of the water supply yet, but we can help to get it out of our bodies. I am extremely excited to announce the exclusive InfoWars Life Fluoride Shield formulation, fusing 6 of the best documented ingredients from around the world to help the body remove not just toxic fluoride residues from the body, but a whole host of toxic substances. Let's take a stand against the globalist by blocking their poisons with Fluoride Shield. I use Fluoride Shield every day. Secure your Fluoride Shield and other pioneering formulations at InfoWarsLife.com today. Let's start cleansing our bodies now and support the Info War at the same time. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
We now take you live to the Central Texas Command Center in the heart of the resistance. It's Alex Jones.
I know that many Americans are also worried about the potential risks to the United States. So I want to be very clear. We do not expect harmful levels of radiation to reach the United States, whether it's the West Coast, Hawaii, Alaska, or U.S. territories in the Pacific. Let me repeat that. We do not expect harmful levels of radiation to reach the West Coast, Hawaii, Alaska, or U.S. territories in the Pacific. That is the judgment of our Nuclear Regulatory Commission and many other experts.
Well, there you go. I'm David Knight, filling in for Alex Jones. I'm joined in studio with Anthony Gucciardi. And Anthony, Obama is kind of like the weather. If you don't like it, you wait a little while and it changes, right? So now the story has changed about Fukushima and radiation coming to America, hasn't it?
Well, that was in 2011 when we said over and over again, Fukushima radiation is coming. Fukushima radiation may already be here in 2011. Fukushima radiation is worse than TEPCO is admitting in 2011. Obama was on television saying everything's fine. The radiation will never be here. And I wanted to cover this specifically because at the top of Drudge, there was an article, it's probably still there, scientists test West Coast for Fukushima radiation. Don't worry, it's very low levels, of course, right? Radiation from the Fukushima nuclear disaster likely will reach ocean waters along the U.S. West Coast next month, scientists are reporting. Now, let's be clear, it's already here. We've had multiple reports of that, but now it's openly stated in USA Today. And here's a quote from the scientist who's freaking out about it. "I'm not trying to be an alarmist," he said. "We can make predictions, we can do models, but unless you have results, how will we know if it's safe?" And last July, this is in US Today admitting this, Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, which operates the plant, acknowledged for the first time that the reactor was leaking contaminated underground water into the ocean. Yes, last July. Now, let's look back to 2012 in an article that I wrote in May, specifically talking about how just they admitted that the radiation exceeded 2.5 times the amount that they originally stated, and they admitted that they lied. Fukushima plant operators are now admitting that the Fukushima radiation levels admitted from the disaster exceeds almost 2.5 times the initial estimate produced by Japanese safety regulators. Study revealed that significantly more radioactive waste was released into the atmosphere as a result of the Fukushima explosion that many nuclear experts previously told the public. And it goes on to say that the operating company deliberately concealed this information. 2% ended up on land. There were 20% also fell on other areas of land, and the remainder went into the Pacific Ocean. So yeah, obviously it's already here. Obviously, you know.
Well, it carries over the wind. It's bioaccumulated in the food supply. What's really sad about this is that they were saying, "Don't worry, there's nothing to be alarmed about. It's okay." To the sailors who were on the USS Reagan. And we see it, they were exposed to such high levels of radiation that there was no concern to be had about that. That now we're seeing immediate threats to their health. It's going to be much more difficult for the population to connect the dots for the general population exposed to lower levels, but it will have an effect on Americans through bioaccumulation, through this exposure. It just may be in the number of cancer deaths that people have 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. It'll be very hard to tag it to that like we've tagged it with the sailors on board that ship. But they were deceived. They were lied to about that. And now we see that they're already having tremendous health effects on over 100 sailors.
I brought this up because this is yet another example of us saying in 2011 what's happening. Obama denying everything, saying it's fine. All the so-called experts in the government saying it's fine, while the actual private experts say it's a big disaster. And now it's coming, they say in April, it'll be here. They also said a couple months ago that, you know, it was already coming, skyrocketing rates that we tested and everything like that. But I wanted to mention that. I'm just glad, you know, that we know what's going on. They're not going to tell you about nascent iodine. They're not going to tell you about any of that. It's up to you to do your own research, look up nascent iodine, check out the information. Also, you know, kelp and various forms of kelp, everything like that. But just prepare yourself because we were right. Government was lying to you once again. But if you find, you know, care in listening to the government lies, that's on you.
They're not going to tell you what the risks are. And as you pointed out, they're not going to tell you what you can do to protect yourself, to protect your family. We tell people that, and it's the way we support this operation, but it is also, you have to take action yourself. And, you know, it's something that nobody else is going to do that for you. They're not going to take the fluoride out of the water. They're not going to tell you that fluoride is the way to protect your health from radiation exposure. Sorry, not fluoride. I said fluoride. Iodine is the way to do that. You have to take a look at it yourself. You have to do what's in your interest and your family's interest, and it's a win-win situation if you do that. But if you just trust the government, their story is going to be constantly evolving, constantly lying to you about the risks.
Exactly, and that's the bottom line. If you want to listen to the government, that's fine. If you want to do your own research, look up nascent iodine, look up other alternatives. That's on you. But the reality is that the Fukushima radiation, we told you about it in 2011. Now, what's today? USA Today, March 9th, saying, yeah, radiation might be coming to the West Coast.
Well, this has been going on now for 3 years.
Yep.
And they talk about the head of the Nuclear Regulatory Agency. That's who Obama was quoting. Well, the head of the Nuclear Regulatory Agency has now said that they need to shut down all American reactors because they share the same design flaw as Fukushima does. So he's very concerned about that. It's not just the risk that we're exposed to from Fukushima. It's the risk that we're exposed to from all these other plants that are much, much closer to us, that are here in the United States. And it's also not just a risk of the plants exploding from something catastrophic like an earthquake or like a flood or something like we've seen with 3 Mile Island or Chernobyl. It's also the risk that the storage pools are going to have a breakdown. And that's what we saw at Fukushima as well. And so we have a nuclear waste problem that is just as dangerous as the operation of the reactors. And the problem is that we can't trust the American companies and the American government to tell us the truth about this any more than we can trust the Japanese companies and the Japanese government to tell us the truth.
Well, the bottom line is I encourage everyone to check out InfoWarsLife.com and read about the nascent iodine for yourself. I didn't bring it up even thinking of that. Honestly, it's on the top of Drudge. Scientists test West Coast for Fukushima radiation, ordering to be tested. Meanwhile, Washington is shutting off its radiation detection. We have none happening now. We have none planned as far as radiation detection, says the communications director for the Washington State Department. And they're just going to let it happen. Washington doesn't care. They say the bulk of it's probably going to hit Washington. They don't even have radiation testing going on. California does. It's concerned.
We've got a couple of minutes before we go to break. Let's take some calls, Anthony. We got Chris in Indiana. You wanted to say something about CPAC and Rand Paul?
Hello, Chris. Hi, Mr. Gucciardi. Honored to talk to both of you.
Honored to talk to you.
Great talking to you. What did you want to say about CPAC and Rand Paul?
Well, about the Rand Paul speech, what he addressed to what I call the National Socialist Agency, he said, quote, cell phones are none of your damn business, which means he means business, if you ask me.
Yes, that's right. We need to get angry about that, don't we? Yeah, we need to get angry about that. When people laugh about that and just use it as a joke, I think we should be beyond that by now. We should be having some outrage, some indignation like Rand Paul had about that.
You're right about that. And people laughed at Ted Cruz's jokes, but people gave Rand Paul a round of applause for that quote. And I'm wondering, I'm predicting right now, Rand Paul versus Hillary Clinton 2016 on the Republican and Democratic ticket, respectively. And will people wake up and finally vote pro-liberty is the real question.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. That'll be an interesting matchup if that happens. Yeah, and
Ron Paul to Rand Paul, and Rand Paul might just have enough power behind getting alternative reality in there with the real conservative movement to potentially do it.
Absolutely. Let's go to RJ in Oklahoma. Thank you, Chris. He wanted to talk about electoral victories not being enough, you said?
Yes, it's going to be pretty tough. I've been in this business for 20 years. I'm a oath keeper, Tea Party coordinator. By the way, David, you and Anthony, hats off. You're doing a phenomenal job.
Well, thanks. What do you think it's going to take, though? I'll tell you what, go ahead and tell us. We've got just a few seconds, and we'll come back to you. We'll hold you over the break. But what do you think it's going to take? What do you think it's going to take?
I'll say, the first thing we must have revival. And I appreciate the spiritual output that I hear on the show.
All right, hang on. We're going to be right back.
Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com. The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super male vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super male vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality. InfoWarsLife.com. In the last 50 years, iodine has been phased out of our staple foods and replaced with the halogen bromine, a practice now banned in nations around the world. Guess what else is in the halogen family? Fluoride. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here. In 1924, the federal government did the right thing and encouraged salt producers to add iodine. It's the good halogen on the periodic table, and the results are on record. Reports documented a 15-point IQ increase in areas that had previously been deficient in iodine. Bottom line, iodine is important. Unbound, clean, in a glycerin base. Nascent iodine was the answer for myself and my family. You will find Survival Shield Nascent Iodine exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWars Life Survival Shield Nascent Iodine isn't just for emergencies. I take it every day. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gate, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filters today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight filling in for Alex here in the studio, and I'm joined with Anthony Gucciardi, and we're taking your calls. But I just want to remind you that this hour of the Alex Jones Show is brought to you by My Patriot Supply. And we're seeing attacks on our freedoms like never before, but we can secure our independence by breaking free from the confines of their systems of control. The path to liberty starts with attaining a level of self-reliance. My Patriot Supply is a home of a wide array of survival products, including the Patriot Pantry line of emergency food storage products. Patriot Pantry is delicious, nutritious, and it prepares in minutes. Patriot Pantry offers amazing variety, great taste, and is packaged to last up to 25 years. Visit mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today to experience their top-rated customer service, top-quality products, and their incredibly reasonable prices. The products you need, the service you expect, and the price you can afford. Visit mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today. And we were just talking before the break to RJ in Oklahoma.
RJ, you said you didn't think that electoral victories were enough. What do you think it's going to take to roll this back?
Well, again, I think the first thing is a spiritual awakening, and I believe it's slowly coming. I'm encouraged by things that I'm seeing. You know, Jesus said to seek first the kingdom and His righteousness, and then all these things will be added to you. And so along the lines of revival, it's important to be hooked up where there's not typically in a conventional church. There's so many things that aren't happening that. And by the way, there's a website where I could share that. I guess it might direct some people that are.
Sure, you can give that to us real quickly, and then I've got a comment. Go ahead, give us your website, and then I wanted to comment on that.
It's rjbarnett.wordpress.com.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And, I was looking at this article that just came out in the last few days about this homeless Jesus statue and the debate that came up around that. I think what they were trying to get to people is the idea that we do really have individual responsibilities. I think we have for too long, they say that if you've only got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I think both for people who are trying to put forward a socialist agenda, as well as, unfortunately, for many Christians, they only see the government as being an effective solution. And so the government is their hammer, and they see everything as a nail that needs to be hammered with the government, whether it's keeping people off of drugs or helping them out when they hit bumpy times in their life or they get addicted to drugs. They want to hammer everybody with the government rather than taking things on and not turning this over to an institution, whether it's the government or whether it's some big national charity, because those institutions just don't work and there's no connection there. It's an easy thing for people to not take the individual responsibility to go out there and engage other people and help them on a one-to-one basis. And part of that is helping them to understand what's being done to them, isn't it, Anthony?
They've taken it so far now that they're going after church groups that feed the homeless and confiscating their food and kicking them off the park.
Yes.
Or in the case of one individual, he's going around with his family, his kids and everything, spending a couple $1,000s a month on his own food, walking around on the streets, giving homeless people food. And he just says something nice, like maybe gives them a small Bible or something like that. That's unacceptable. That is evil in the eyes of the state.
And I think we need to, as Christians, we need to kind of check ourselves and see if on some of these things that we think are important, like the war on drugs, for example, Christians don't want to see people addicted to alcohol. They don't want to see them addicted to drugs. So we had alcohol prohibition. Now we got the war on drugs. Can they take a look at some of these things and say, you know what? Marijuana really does help some people who are sick, and they use it medically. Or can we just have the compassion not to throw people in jail for lifetime imprisonment because of mandatory minimums that keep them in and let violent criminals out? Can we have that kind of compassionate conservatism? A conservatism that doesn't try to put compassion, run it through the government, run it through these big institutions that don't have any compassion, but rather have it on an individual level and not be so trusting of government to be the only instrument that we have in our bag.
Well, it's Christian to not want the CIA drug running heroin.
Yes.
That's the war on drugs. It's a delusion. It's a lie that it's Christian to somehow support this war on drugs or somehow support all this government bureaucratic insanity. The same thing with prohibition. It just led to more alcohol. We need to abolish the war on drugs 100%, yes, because the government is not your big daddy. It's not going to provide for you and keep you safe. Ultimately, actually, what's not Christian is treating the government as God.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
I identify as a follower of God and everything. And one thing I'm not going to do is sit back and ask the government to go around and arrest people that are smoking less than, a gram of pot or something in California. That has nothing to do with anything. But even if we got rid of the war on drugs, less people would statistically use drugs. So overall, we're relying too much on the big daddy system. And that's why it's come to the point now where you can't even feed the homeless or you go to jail if you try to give them food for Thanksgiving.
Yes, that's right.
It's also up to us to support the communities and churches that are feeding the homeless. I've done that personally. We need to support those who are being prosecuted, feed the homeless ourselves, just like uploading ourselves with guns to Facebook to protest that. We need to go out and feed the homeless more.
And even get involved on an individual basis. I think we're going to know that we've had revival come to. It's not revival when we do certain things. It's revival when our perspective has changed on things. And as we saw with the original American Revolution, it was preceded by a spiritual revival. We will know that that has happened when we see people start to take responsibility for themselves, for their families, for their neighbors and not try to use the government as a hammer to beat each other over the head with it.
And stop morally judging everyone off of crazy foundations. Everyone is a sinner. Everyone has done things. But at the end of the day, if we're fighting and we're passionate for justice and reality and truth and God, that is power. That is how we defeat the enemy.
That's right.
It's not about morally judging other people.
That's right. It's about taking care of each other. Andrew in Pennsylvania, you had something about winning and the TSA lawsuits. What's your opinion on that?
Well, the real reason you can't win TSA lawsuits is not because the TSA is viewed as necessary for safety. The reason you can't win TSA lawsuits is because your tickets, airline tickets, refer to you as passengers, and that's legally defined as a commercial term. And since you're in commerce, the government has authority to regulate you to the point where they can take away your right to not be searched without a warrant. And in order to solve this problem, we would need to change the word passenger into the word traveler, which does not have any legal definition. That's commerce specific.
Well, you know, the other way that the TSA is winning their lawsuits...
Just a slave instead.
That's right. That's a good way to put it. The other way that they're winning their lawsuits is by basically censoring the truth. We had John Corbett, who has been at the forefront of these TSA lawsuits. He's probably sued them more than anybody else. He had a video that showed that their naked body scanners were totally ineffective if you had weapons just on the side of your body. But in his latest lawsuit, which I believe, Anthony, is still in play, they mistakenly published on pacer.gov, which is where all of the lawsuits are supposed to be published. They mistakenly published up there that they realized as of 2011 that there was no terrorist threats against airports or airplanes, but they redacted that. They allowed him to see these documents during discovery. He referred to it, quoted from their documents, and then they redacted that out, but then they made the mistake of putting the unredacted copy up there. So we know exactly what they were doing, and at the same time they said there's no threat. They were threatening the state of Texas with a complete shutdown of the air system because we had the House of Representatives here had passed a bill that would constrain the TSA to treating us like human beings again, like the Constitution requires them to. And so they blackmailed the state Texas and the Senate. They backed out. And, of course, our lieutenant governor, who was a lifelong CIA guy before he became lieutenant governor, he was alongside bringing that down, wasn't he, Anthony?
I like the 4'5", 300-pound TSA agents that treat me like a literal slave. And I think that's good. And I think it's good that they've never stopped a terrorist ever.
Right.
And every single time where an engineer novice tries to put a weapon inside, a faulty weapon inside of their code or whatever, they can get through every single time. I like the fact that if you ask them about their radiation naked body scanners, they'll tell you they're perfectly safe, even though in the 90s, a commission on radiation found that back then, when they were using them in isolated cases, it was causing hundreds of cases of cancer, isolated in the 90s. Who knows how many it is now. I like all that. So I think the TSA is good. And I think cancer from their naked body scanners, which, by the way, they put pregnant women now through and little kids and stuff, I think that's good. And I think passenger is a perfect term. It's closer to slave, I think. But, you know, overall, they're definitely keeping us safe.
Well, you know, it's just how they control us. It's another one of these techniques of control, just like we were talking about spying on people, wanting to know if their propaganda through the media is working. They need that feedback. They need to be able to monitor us everywhere. They need to look at all of our metadata. And this is also a part of this. This is slave training. I can put my hands on you at any time, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if you let me do that, I'm going to instantly reward you in kind of this Pavlovian, Skinner-esque type of way. I'm going to instantly reward you with letting you get on the plane.
Yeah, well,
so here's your positive reinforcement. You just let me do this, and you can get on the plane. We're being treated like lab rats.
If we let the NSA win, I got arrested for walking in their parking lot. If we let the NSA win, the TSA will be the physical arm that comes into your house and searches you. If we let them win, if we let them set the precedent, the TSA is coming to your door. That's the physical manifestation of the NSA.
That's right. It's metastasizing, just as all these government agencies are metastasizing. Well, that's it for today's show. Alex is going to be back tomorrow at the usual time, 11 Central, 12 Eastern. Don't miss it.
Hi, folks. Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his two-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach.